Thank you, Madam President. Members, I'm very concerned that the vote that you're going to take today is going to jeopardize the future economic prosperity of this state. And we've spent a lot of time around this building over the years talking about the fact that Minnesota is a high-tax state, and that makes it difficult to get businesses to look at Minnesota as a place to relocate, or maybe in some cases even making a decision to expand here. But we have always been able to overcome that because we have had a quality workforce in this state. I would argue second to none in this country. That's why we have 21 Fortune 500 companies in this state, because this state over the decades has invested in our workforce, invested in our higher educational institutions, and this state and Minnesota has prospered. And the direction that we're going today, this disinvestment in our higher educational system, is going to jeopardize this state's future economic prosperity.
But I would just like to say, I think that we had a target of 2.5 billion, and I think we were able to put a little more money into the state grant program, preserve some of those programs for students, and make reductions at MnSCU and at U of M that will not cut so deep that they will put people, they won't put the university out of business. I think that Senator Bakk mentioned that they would be closing campuses. There hasn't been a discussion of that, although the MnSCU does have some flexibility in what they do with their cuts. But I just want to say, I think that we did preserve a lot for the students. We did a solid job, I think, on doing that in the state grant program.
Senate File 924, as amended. All senators voting who desire to vote. The secretary will close the roll. There being 37 ayes and 27 nays, the motion prevails. The bill is adopted in its title agreed to.
Some disappointment. You know, members, in 2008, this legislature cut a deal with Governor Plenty to buy $18 million of land and make a state park. And we were going to call it the Lake Vermilion State Park. And Governor Plenty was very proud of that accomplishment in reaching an agreement with U.S. Steel to purchase that land. And those of us that are legislators on the Iron Range, there are 8 of us. There used to be more. There'll probably be one less after this next redistricting. I was the only one of the 8 that supported the creation of the state park. The other 7 all told me, you know, Tom, you're crazy. It's just going to be another state land grab. You know what? They're never going to build a park. They're just going to buy another chunk of land and take it off the tax rolls. And I told them, no, you guys, you're wrong. And I'm going to cut a deal with the governor on this because we are going to build a state park. So, Senator Ingebrigsten, you can imagine my disappointment when the LCCMR recommended $3 million of funding to start the development of Minnesota's newest and what I would argue is going to be a spectacular state park someday. But my disappointment when your committee made a decision to not take the LCCMR recommendations, cancel that and move that to some other uses.
You know, we all have to go home and you know, we read the newspapers, and we take it on the chin for this and we take it on the chin for that, and that's part of the deal. You know, you got to have some pretty thick skin if you're in this area. There's no question about it. And the talk of closing parks and shutting down parks and has actually now been reduced down to actually maybe not opening them up quite so often, and maybe 1 or 2 staff is going to have to go away. So the closing of the parks now is not going to happen, and part and parcel because of the ability for us to move the money from a new park, from the organization and dollars being spent to design and work and I think put some trails in and put some porta potties, if you will, to start out with at a new park. But when we're looking at a deficit like this, it's a pretty reasonable, I think, sale to the general public that instead of our parks being compromised that are already up and running, the 67 or 70 of them, whatever that number is, maybe it's best that we continue to try and keep those going during this time when we are having these deficit deals to deal with versus putting together a new one. And